Welcome to this edition of presentation. Today, we are going to be looking at referencing and citation, and this is the first part of the four-part series. So, for this edition, we're going to look at why you should reference. That will be part of our learning objectives, the do and do of citation and reference, some introduction to referencing reference verbs, highlight of some reference systems, when you should use quotations, and some referencing systems. There's a little typographical error there. It's referencing, not referencing. Okay, so let's get on with it. So why should you reference? The first reason, because you want to avoid plagiarism, which means copying other people's work without acknowledging them and claiming it to be your own original idea. You want to avoid that because there will be penalty for doing that. Secondly, you want to also show that you have read works of other experts in the subject that you are investigating or working on. So that kind of give more weight to your own write-up, because if you have explored what other people have done, it gives some credibility to your own work. We know that you have explored what is already out there. Then thirdly, it allows your readers to also find the sources that you have used. So if you prepare your work and you put up different citations and there are no reference at the end of the work so that people can look it up, then it becomes difficult to for people to actually ascertain your sources. Okay, so it's very important that you have your citations and you have your reference at the end of your work so that other people can actually look up those materials that you have cited. Now, what are the things you need to reference when you're writing your work? For example, if you have data from your own primary research, you went to the field and you collect data, do you need to reference that? No, you do not need to reference that. So this will be a no. Okay, if you have a graph from an internet article, maybe an article you read and something was presented there, do you need to reference that? Yes, you do need to reference that. Okay, you need to provide us a source that kind of give us an idea. Anybody who want to read up more, there should be an opportunity for them to look up the material that you have presented so that they know that this is a work that they can actually go and read up. Okay, and they can confirm that the source is genuine. If you have a quotation from a book, yes, you need to provide reference for that. You need to reference that. An item of common knowledge, no, you do not need to provide a reference for a common knowledge. Remember, in one of our Zoom meetings we talked about this, that if you state that there are 36 autonomous states in Nigeria and the Federal Capital Territory is a common knowledge, you do not need to provide a kind of reference, a source for that particular statement, because it is well known that that is the number of states and we have a Federal Capital Territory in Nigeria. A theory from a journal article, yes, you need to provide a source for that. You need to cite appropriately, cite the author, and put a reference in your list of references. An idea of your own based on reading several sources. This is your own personal development. You do not need to provide a source for that. So this kind of provides you a kind of brief overview of what you need to cite and reference and what you do not need to provide a citation for in your scientific work. Now, there are two ways by which you can do your citation and referencing, that you can do your citation. Basically, there are two ways by which you can do that. But remember, it is very important that you accurately reflect on or highlight the works of other people that you have used in your write-up. It is very important to give acknowledgement to them. If you do not do that, then you are committing plagiarism, because you are effectively claiming other people's work to be your work. So take care of that. So going back to the two methods by which you can present the idea of other people in your work, that is, in this sense, citation, you can paraphrase or you can use quotes. So paraphrasing or quotations, these are the two approaches you can adopt. So let's look at an example. More will be presented when we meet up on our Zoom meetings, but let me just give you an understanding from what we have here. The examples we have here. Smith 2009 argues that the popularity of sports utility vehicle SUV is irrational, as despite their high cost, most are never driven off-road, full stop. In his view, they are bad for road safety, the environment, and road congestion. Clearly, Smith is being quoted here. You can see the quote marks around it. So, Smith is being quoted here. Here we add a mixture of two approaches. There is a paraphrasing here across this sentence here, the first sentence there. So the author of this now present that Smith 2009 argues this statement, and in the same paragraph the author also quoted Smith 2009. They are bad for road safety, the environment, and road congestion. So that way, from this example now, you have seen the two ways by which you can cite other people's work. Quotation here, and you can see the quotation also in proper, giving proper attribution. The page number is also cited, okay, or provided. And in the second option, a paraphrasing was done, whereby we can see clearly how the author paraphrased the ideas from Smith 2019. This is the full reference for Smith 2009. So we have the citation in the body of the work, and we have the reference at the end of the work. Okay, so if we look at another example, Emmanuel et al. 2015. So this is the full reference. So this is the reference. Okay, and this is the citation for Emmanuel et al. 2015. So if we look at this, the cement plant was reported to have a capacity of 5 million tons in 2007, and new capacity had been added to take the production to about 13 million metric tons. Okay, full stop. So in this statement, we are paraphrasing what Emmanuel 2015 reported in their work. So this is a citation in the form of a paraphrase. Okay, so the author used the paraphrase idea method in this statement here, in this sentence here. So this is the full details of Emmanuel et al. So we use et al. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So depending on the referencing system, you will use et al. Differently. Okay, so more details about that will be provided later when we're looking at referencing system. So the way you use et al. Will depend on the referencing system you are adapting. What are the advantages of each? Okay, if we look at the quotation, for example, here, this is very short and it is very clear the message that is being passed across. So if you have a a phrase that it is easier for you, it's shorter, and it carries a specific meaning, that if you try to paraphrase it, it will lose that meaning. It might be better for you to quote. Okay, if the meaning is going to be lost, then it's better to quote. If your paraphrasing is going to be longer, it's better you quote. Okay, so that's one of the benefits when it becomes appropriate actually to use quotations. Okay, paraphrase it's better in a situation where you want to compare what somebody else said, or you have a better way of expressing what the author has reported, what the original author has reported. Take for instance, somebody is trying to explain their finding, and the sentence and the reporting is longer in terms of the sentence style and the sentence length and the style of writing. So if you can digest it easily and you can express it in a simpler way, it is better to paraphrase, because you have to gauge the audience for which you are writing this kind of material for. So you must write in such a way that when you look at the original work, if it is going to be difficult to understand for your audience, or the idea seems a little bit complicated the way it was written, it is better to simplify it and prepare it as a paraphrase with proper attribution. Okay, so going back to the issue of quotations, okay, you should use it very sparingly in your work. And there are three situations. I've highlighted one earlier. There's three situations when you should use it. Original words, when the original word expresses a very distinctive idea. Okay, for example, to be or not to be, that's the question. That is very unique. It's a very popular way of saying from Shakespeare work. So it is easier for you to use that kind of phrase because it's very distinctive, and the meaning is it's easier for people to understand, and because it's very common, then you might want to use that. So that also links back to the original verse is a well-known phrase. So if you have a situation where you have a well-known phrase, then it's better to use that. And if it expects a very distinctive idea, then use the original word. If the original phrase is more concise than the paraphrasing, use the quotations. Okay? Use the original quote or the original phrase from the original author's material. So these are the three situations when you should use quotations. It is not good practice to fill up your work with so many quotations. Okay, you should use them sparingly, and you should use them only under these three circumstances. Also, when you are presenting a quote, there should be an introduction, so that way we know what you're trying to say. So quote should be introduced by a phrase that shows the source and explain how the quote fits into your argument. Let's look at this example in this case. The view is widely shared, as Friedman stated, inflation is one form of taxation that can be imposed without legislation. So you can see the view is widely shared. That is the phrase that introduced the work of Friedman. Okay, then that was followed by inflation. The phrase inflation is one form of taxation that can be imposed without legislation, in a quotation mark. So, and that is followed by the year for which the work was done and the page from which that statement could be found. So that is a way by which you can present your quotes. There must be something that introduces it, and then there must be the quote followed by the quote itself. There you can have short quotations or longer quotations. Once they have about 2 to 3 lines, then you can use single quotation marks, just like we have here, okay, and in the previous example I gave earlier in the previous slide. If you have longer ones, once it goes beyond 2 to 3 lines, then you need to indent them, okay, and don't use quotation marks. So which means if the whole sentence is like this, the introductory sentence is like this, the quote will start from here and something like this. It will span between this area of your write-up, okay. It will be indented, and you don't need to put quotation marks again. But if they are short, you put quotation mark. If they are long, you don't use quotation marks, but you indent them. Remember also, in all the examples I've given, you must put page number, okay, after the year of publication. Use the exact words when you are quoting, because you are actually quoting the author, so use their exact word. If you need to exclude the irrelevant words, use this sign, the 3 dots, to exclude irrelevant words when it is necessary. So that will indicate where you have missing section in the quotation. So if you look at the example, few inventions ... have been as significant as mobile phone, end of quote. So this indicated that there are some other words that are not necessary, that you do not want to include in this statement, but you want to indicate that there are some things missing here, okay. If you need to add some more words in the quote to add more explanation, use the square bracket, okay. So if you want to add something else to this invention, you want to give us another explanation, you use the square in front of it and add in your explanation. That square bracket give us an indication that you are putting in your own words or your own explanation. So this is a wrap on how to use quotation, when to use it, and how to prepare it, how to present it in your work. So this is the end of the first session. So we have gone through why must you do referencing in your work, okay, and we have talked about also what must be referenced, the methods of expressing citations in your work, and how to use quotations.